Last year we grassed 1,550 Speckle Park steers, and as we've done it over the last 6 years, you can see in our steers how each year the cattle change, they get better. We're getting more hide on these cattle, we're getting more hair on these cattle. They're getting deeper bodied, we're breeding more bone into these cattle, and from a commercial standpoint, it's very, very, very important. And when you look at the seed stock here, you know, for me, it's I'm not going to lie, it's the first National Speckle Park show I've ever been to. And when I see the seed stock, then it comes back to me why these steers are improving. You look at the depth of body of these cattle, you look at the natural muscling, and it all goes back to you breeders doing what's asked of you from the commercial side. You needed to put more bone and more natural muscle into these cattle, and you definitely have done that. So in analyzing these females, it's going to give me a lot of pleasure to go out here and pick two that I think are going to be in great hands, or your breed is going to be in great hands following the lead of these individuals. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Junior champion here today is INC Havana 101F, an entry of Pressville Parks at Richmond, Virginia. Entry 3413. They will receive the banner from Ann Chris Farms, and Chris is here to present the banner. Reserve junior champion is 30. Entry number 3415 is the reserve junior champion, Ann Chris Fay 19F. She is in the sale tonight, and she is exhibited by Ann Chris Farms at Ingersoll, Ontario.
Ladies and gentlemen, back in the Simmental ring, class complete. Our first split of senior futurity calves, and Judge Andre Stepler with his remarks.
What a powerful set of heifer calves in front of us again in this class. To start off with a pair of heifers that I really appreciate the length of spine, their overall capacity that all these heifers have, the springer rib that these two individuals exhibit. They walk out on a very sound structure, really sound base in these heifers, and they got the confirmation that I'm going to be looking for all day, and two heifers that come up to the top. I did give the nod to the black heifer over the red heifer. She's just a little bit cleaner in that navel, and I know we're getting pretty picky in that sense, but there is that small difference in those two heifers. Moving to my third place heifer, you've got to really appreciate how super correct this heifer is. She stands up on her feet and legs. I really like that. She gets out and she strides very efficiently. Does she get outgunned just a little bit on the power side today? That's what's going to move her into that third hole for me today, but a very strong individual on that third hole. Moving to my fourth place female, this is a very attractive mate female. You really got to appreciate how this female profiles. She's very sound, big, lots of rib cage to her, lots of springer rib. Does she get a little bit straight on her back leg? Confirmation for me today to outstep the heifers above her just a bit, and that's going to move her into that fourth hole. Moving to my next place heifer, you really got to appreciate the femininity that heifer exhibits up through that front. Does she get a little bit more set in her back wheels for me today? Yes, just a touch, but it's still a lot of heifer in that, a lot of barrel in that heifer. Moving to my last place heifer, this is a big power heifer. You really got to appreciate that length of spine that this heifer exhibits. She is very correct, and she does get out and move. Does she get a little bit on the extreme side for me today? Just a little bit, but a very strong set of Simmental heifers.
Thank you, Andre. Let's have a nice round of applause before those exhibitors get entirely out of the building. Another great class of Simmental heifers. This class was led off by 3265 SVS Jewel 955G, exhibited by Sunny Valley Simmental's Hanley, Saskatchewan. Please mark in your catalog that heifer will be in tonight's sale. Second place to 3254 WPT Miss Georgia Peach 32G, exhibited by Peter Simmental's Purdue, Saskatchewan. Third place goes to 3275 RLC Twilight 917G, exhibited by Ridgeline Cattle Company, Perry, Saskatchewan. Please mark in your catalog that heifer will be joining us tonight in the sale at 7 p.m. Fourth place, 3208 HFL Rose 920G, exhibited by Horder Cattle Company, Minnedosa, Manitoba. Fifth place to 3248 Tidy's Bet On 10G, exhibited by Tidy Livestock, Streamstown, Alberta. Sixth place to 3241 CCCC Red Alaska 58G, exhibited by Cooley Crossing Cattle Company, Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. Please note in your catalog, 3246 was not in the show here today. That heifer is the donation heifer. McIntosh Chloe 41G, donated by McIntosh Livestock, Maymont, Saskatchewan. That heifer, you're welcome to go back into the barn and see. She's doing very well. They chose not to show her today. That is the heifer that you can purchase tickets on in support of the Simmental Scholarship Fund. They're $10 each. For just $10, you could go home owning that heifer. So make sure you stop by the McIntosh Livestock stall, check that heifer out, and buy your ticket. Up at the front here, we have some gals at the table there. I'll be more than pleased to fix you up with your tickets for the scholarship heifer. Later this afternoon, following the Simmental show, we'll have our Simmental Sweepstakes, a very popular event each year. It begins at 6 p.m. $100 a piece, I believe. Those tickets are down at the table here as well. We have a host of tickets and prizes in this year's event, the Charlet Sweepstakes, in support of the Saskatchewan Simmental Association, I believe. And a list of those, I believe, are in the catalog, very graciously donated and provided to us. The Simmental Sweepstakes starts at 6 p.m. tonight in the John Deere Sale Arena. That'll be followed at 6:30 by the draw for that donation heifer I was just describing to you a brief moment ago. And then our sale tonight, managed by Borson Marketing Services of Carstairs, Alberta. The Simmental sale will begin at 7 p.m. For details on that or the sale catalog, once again, believe there might be some catalogs spread through the bleachers here. If you're unable to find one, approach the announcers area here. We'll make sure that you have the sales information you need for tonight's sale.
On the Speckle Park side, this is a class of 2-year-old heifers with calf at side, and it's their first class in the senior division. We'd sure like to thank our judge, Shannon Eaton from Lloydminster, for coming and sorting through these cattle here today. I think in his comments there on the junior class, it was kind of interesting. He uses these cattle in his commercial operation at home, and it's kind of a real strong acknowledgement for the breed. Shannon is a major order buyer in northeastern Alberta and northwestern Saskatchewan, working the Vermilion, Provost, Lloydminster Circle, and he's buys and sells cattle for orders all over North America. And we sure like to thank Shannon for taking his time out today. I've seen him judge a number of shows. He does an exceptional job, coming from an exceptional hands-on education that he's gotten on selecting the cattle that'll work for him. So thank you, Shannon, and I'd like to give Shannon a good round of applause here. Thank you.
There's a long line up down the street outside. They come rolling up in the daddy's ride like they just got paid. Head straight to the valet. No room at the bar, you can barely move. People getting bottle service in the corner booth, sipping 1K champagne. Must be somebody's birthday. And there's drunk girls in the bathroom acting like they're best friends, talking boyfriends. Yeah, you know they do. Like grown-up high school.
Our second split in the intermediate heifer calf championship is complete. Once again, our judge with his remarks.
I knew when I was asked to come judge this Emmental show that we get a class like this, and there is some tremendous heifers all the way through down to that back end of the class, and I just can't believe that we have to use some of these heifers in that 4th, 5th, and 6th place holes, but just tremendous class that's in front of everybody today. Start off this class with a heifer that just has that presence, that depth of rib, the capacity, the super conformation, the solid conformation that this heifer is built up upon. I do like how she ties into her front end as well too, and she got a nice top on her, and this heifer gets out in stride. She comes to the top of the class for me today. Moving to my second place heifer, you really got to admire the overall power and performance this heifer has. She's very well made in her conformation for as big a heifer she is. I really appreciate that about her. I like how she ties into that front end too. She's going to come to my second spot for me today. Moving to my third place heifer, this heifer, you just got to admire the profile and the presence this heifer has. There's no doubt she's super stout. She's got lots of capacity to her. I maybe just like to make her a touch bigger for me today and maybe get her moving a little bit more efficiently in her back wheels to compete with the two solid heifers in front of her, but a very strong individual in that third hole. Moving to my fourth place heifer, this red heifer, you really got to admire the power and the thickness and the twist in this heifer. She's got lots of meat structure to her. She also gets out, she moves and she strides. I maybe just like to freshen her up just a little bit, maybe pull that hip down just a little bit. She pops just a little bit there to compete with the heifers above her, but a very strong heifer. Moving next to my big black heifer, you really got to admire the performance again. These heifers have got lots of go in them. She maybe gets a little bit straight in her conformation for me in that back wheel just to outstride those heifers above her, but a very strong individual. Moving to this next place heifer, very fancy made heifer. I really love the front end in this heifer. She maybe pops a little bit on that hooks to pins a little bit, breaks down that top line just a touch, but a very strong individual. And then moving to my last place heifer, and this is a tremendous heifer, guys. Just because she's standing here last place in exhibition doesn't mean that she's not a good heifer. Look at the capacity and the rib cage to her. She's super correct. Does she give up a little bit of that presence? Maybe just a bit, but a very strong individual.
Thanks, Andre. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a nice round of applause. I apologize, our exhibitors out of the ring, but they certainly can hear your applause. That class was led off by 3259 RF Rust Royal Treasure 993G, exhibited by Rancier Farms, Killam, Alberta, and Rust Mountain View Ranch. Second place in class goes to 3214 Swan Lake Candace 26G, exhibited by Swan Lake Farms Limited, Stoughton, Saskatchewan. Third place to 3206 HFL Emma 916G, Brought to us today by Horner Cattle Company, Minnedosa, Manitoba. Fourth place to 32.25. CMS Harris, 929G. Exhibited by Checkmate.